August 26, 2025 board meeting. Tonight, call to order to open, as they say. Can we please get a roll call, starting down at this end?
Dave Larson, Director, District 5.
Dr. Constance Pedrosa, Superintendent.
Charles Simpson, District 3.
Kate Crawler, District 2.
And do we have, yes, we do.
Carly Hoover, District 1.
Super, thank you. Well, welcome guests that are here, both those who do know, who should know. We do have a sign-in sheet for everybody. If you have not signed in, please come up to the front desk here and sign in. And also for if you have times for our public comment, that would be also where you need to sign in for public comment, which will be coming up. We'll have it twice here, once at the beginning, once at the end. All right, so turning it over to Director Kruller with our land acknowledgement.
Thank you. We in Toccoa School District acknowledge that the land where we teach, collaborate, learn, and play is the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and Muckleshoot people, past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish and the Muckleshoot tribes. As a public school district, we have a responsibility for the stewardship of this land, and we strive to work alongside the Duwamish and the Muckleshoot people who have been living and working here since time immemorial. And then we have a labor acknowledgement. We further acknowledge that the burden of the environmental exploitation and systemic injustice falls upon the labor of Black and brown bodies in the building of this country and its institutions. We remember that Black and brown people were born and died working this land against their will for generations. We also acknowledge the continued contribution of labor of survivors over the centuries to today of all immigrant labor, district immigrant labor, including voluntary, involuntary, trafficked, forced, and undocumented peoples in the building of what we refer to as the United States. As a school district leadership, we pledge to recognize and work against systems that have historically and currently enforced and create inequities among the people we serve.
Thank you. If everyone please rise and we're gonna put some legs up here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll be moving on to our Toccoa School Board values. As a group, we came up with these to kind of guide our meetings. We'll have Director Kruller just give us the highlights of those. Would be great.
You know, I think I'm gonna go through all of them because we skipped a couple of meetings of reading them all. So
Okay.
there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets here. Transparency, to be honest, speak or communicate with your point of view and why. Explain what you're doing in understandable or more simple terms. Asking clarifying questions and break down what's being said. That's transparency. Courage, speak frankly about the uncomfortable things. Listen deeply. Listen to understand, not to respond. Minimize multitasking. Embrace the brainstorm. Lean into the tough conversations, own mistakes, and address unintentional impact. That's courage. Righteousness, relentless pursuit for exploring the right thing to do, to be or to become. Challenge versus taking the easiest cost-effective path. That's righteousness. Curiosity, ask questions for understanding, suspend judgment. That's curiosity. And last, respect, center humanity. Find out what respect means to each other. Active, listening, seeing the whole person, recognizing what each of us might be bringing in that day. Ask what would be the impact on people. Respect and center humanity.
Thank you. Okay, can I get an approval for the agenda for today's meeting of August 26th?
So moved.
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on to our first chance at public comment. Wondering if there's anyone. There is. All right. So we have 2 people in person. I'm gonna give people online a chance first, and then once, if there's no one online, then we'll call up, Miss also. Do we have anyone online? Perfect. Is that no?
You have these one that no one's raised their hand.
No one's raised their hand. Okay, well, I will give an opportunity. I'm gonna ask Ms. Robin Alsop to come up, please, for a public comment. And if you can hear me, the 3 that are online, if you have a public comment, please raise your hand in the chat there, and then we will come back to you at the end.
Hello,
Hello.
good evening. I'm Robin Alsop and I am for 3 more days, the office secretary at Chuckwell Elementary. Right now, really, I'm working as Daniel Eastman's assistant. And I'm leaving it very. Just a couple things tonight. I think we all agree that communication is really critical in any organization. So I thank you for putting out that 2025, 26 organizational structure that has been put out recently, the chart. I do have a concern though, about one of the columns. And I'm sorry I don't have it here. I don't know if Debbie has it, but on the far right, not to the total right, but second in, I think, there's a column that's called categorical programming. On every other column, there is a name attached to those, the column of who's responsible. This one does not have anyone's name attached to it. And it has highly capable, inclusion, MTSS/MTSS, grants, enrollment, multilingual services and dual language, career technical education, and early learning. I happen to know, after having listened to, even though I haven't been in person, I'm online most of the time listening to the board meetings, that several of these are a focus for the district coming up. And so my concern is that there is yet nobody attached to that. So I'm, as an employee, I don't know who to contact regarding those kind of categories. So I know that for our community, that's even harder. And I went looking for it online and I couldn't find it. So, and I think I'm pretty savvy about how to get around that website, but I couldn't find where it was. So I'm sure that you're working on that, but perhaps before we published it, we might have tagged it like to be determined or something like that, because when you just blanket it out there, like anything that isn't communicated really specific or at least with a, you know, a direction, then it leaves up for lots of perceptions to be happening. And that is not a good way to have our year start, to have those critical things be in question about who is handling those. And so if we could please update that, that would be awesome, because I'm sure that, like I said, that you're working on that.
We are working on that.
Yeah, so.
And that's really helpful feedback. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then the other thing is, I just want to thank you for the privilege. And I told my husband, I'm not gonna cry. Do that. Anyhow, for allowing me to work here for almost 25 years. It has been my privilege to serve my students, my families, the community, and my colleagues. I love my job. And it is bittersweet for me to leave. But I just want to thank you and thank the families for trusting me. Thank you. I have a really nice friend here. I can always get out of here. But it has just really been my privilege, and I have enjoyed every minute of it. And I have met some amazing people, some amazing resilient people, and people who have made me a better person and have made me to grow and learn, and I am very grateful for that. So if you don't mind, if I approach you and shake your hand and say thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
You, for 45 years.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, there you go. And thanks to Nadia.
Perfect. Well, to go up there, so we are going to be republishing, I'm looking at the superintendent.
Yes.
For the question that was there, great.
Or at least I'll be putting put something in the staff update to make sure people have that information.
Perfect. And when's the staff up?
It comes out on Monday.
Monday,
Every Monday.
even better. So there we go. So we should see something.
It's Monday, not because it's Labor Day, though. You're right, Labor Day. So how about Tuesday? We'll make sure. and have it.
Great.
Nice.
Thank you. And, okay, moving on to Mr. Sherlock.
Good evening. Congratulations on retirement.
Thank you.
I don't think there's one of us that would not look forward to that. What a tremendous career. Thank you for supporting this community. The only challenge that you have after you speak, when somebody, brings before such a wonderful situation is sometimes what you're bringing forward isn't such a happy event. So I don't want to take away from the wonderful presentation that was given, the good news on retirement. I just want to say quickly, when I was a young boy and started first grade, I had a teacher by the name of Mrs. Rhodes. Probably nobody in here knows Mrs. Rhodes. She was from France, spoke with a heavy accent. And I have to say, to this day, I remember Mrs. Rhodes, because not only did she teach us French, but she taught us one of the most important things that I've carried with me through my entire life. And that is, I have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I'm supposed to listen twice as much as I talk. And that's a very good thing to keep in mind. But I do want to just follow up from my presentation last week when I was informing members of the school district and people that are interested in what's going on in Tukwila schools about the hot shop presentation. The council yesterday had a public hearing on that, and there were 4 people that spoke out from our community that were opposed to it. I was one of them, but I want to give credit to those who did speak out, because credit is due in standing up in front of a crowd that had a lot of people there that were from outside of Tukwila and who would stand to financially benefit from hot shops in Tukwila. So I just want to give these 3 citizens the credit they well deserve. The first one is Joe Duffy. Gave one of the most impassionate, wonderful speeches I've seen, and I've seen a lot of them down there at the city of Tukwila. Sharon Mann, another excellent presentation as well. And then our own Dave Larson did a nice job giving out really good facts and figures. So appreciate that. Just want to let you know that there are 3 council members who are very pro having pot shops in Tukwila. The first one is Armin Papian. Very pro pot shop, spoke that a number of times. Hannah Hendrick and Verna Seal. So just be aware of that we have 3 council members that think that's a great idea. And I think if you do see them, you should speak out and say something to them that it's not a good idea. So with that, thank you for your time.
Okay, are there any public comments online? No more are in person. And I do not see any of our young representatives here today, which I'll blame them. We'll move on to our superintendent report.
Yes.
Thank
Hi,
you.
everybody. Just, we're really excited to welcome everybody back for the 25-26 school year. Robin, we're gonna miss you so much. How many times have I come to Tukwila and you're the first person that greets me, and also I get candy. So, Mrs. Eastman, Snickers. I only need one, though. No more than that.
There's a-
Anyway, I'm teasing, but, I just say all of our schools, they're just super well, but it's the front office staff, right? They set the culture of the building and the tone of the building, so, I just appreciate all of that you guys have done to put that into place for us, so thank you so much. I just wanna let everyone know that I just want a big, huge thanks to everyone getting ready for the start of school. Like, transportation, food services, our principals, our teachers, our educators, our office staff, supply ordering, on and on. It's an effort, right? And, one of the first things I remember that, Ms. Core said to me was, this is the first time we've had like no complaints for the start of school. I like to keep that record. Because I think that's important, that our families have predictable, on-time school start with a belonging and welcoming environment, and our team has done that. So I'm very thankful to everyone in Tukwila School District for doing that. Just a reminder to all of our staff, we start the day tomorrow at Foster High School on the path. Please come before 9. The event starts promptly at 9, but our great human resource staff that's also been doing hiring and interviewing, they're gonna be there to check in people, so please be a little early so we can get everyone seated and ready to go at 9 a.m. A few updates, just want to also shout out and thanks. We had more than 40 boxes of various items were donated to our district from 4 generous organizations. So Costco, Courtyard by Marriott, at CTAC, ECU, and the Walsh Group. We have backpacks, hygiene kits, folders, pencils, and more. And so I just want to thank Liliana and her team for helping us to get these delivered, and also thank Ms. Brito for helping us organize all of the deliveries. Also, for families to remember, this week, we actually have a lot of events happening in our schools, some orientations, welcome back events. Please check your school's website, or you can check our district website for all of those events. There's different times, so I don't want to go through them all, but different times where they start. Friday, we have a vaccination clinic. So those of you who need your vaccinations, please come to Foster High School at between 10 and 2. And I want to thank our partners and also Ms. Mott's team for coordinating our vaccination clinics for this Friday. See, it's a team effort, all the people helping around getting things ready to go. I just want to give a little bit of Tukwila Promise update to folks. As of early August, we're going to finalize our numbers tomorrow. But as you all know, this was a big effort last year. January, the city council voted that, and our board and our team worked very hard, and then our school team worked for implementation with Highland College in partnership. 6 months we had to get it done. It wasn't very long to implement it. But as of August, man, we're gonna verify our numbers, but 85 students completed enrollment forms from Foster High School. Is that incredible? When you think that about 200 students graduated, that's a lot. 50 have completed the registration, they're working on the rest. We have a meeting to check in on all those updates, but, and then Highland College has done some additional hiring to provide wraparound services to ensure our kids get to graduation. So, team effort again, and I just wanted to share what an incredible, amazing partnership it's been with the city of Tukwila, Highland College and Tukwila School District to get that opportunity for our students. So such an amazing thing.
Point of privilege, I'd also like to uphold Riley Haggard, because
Yeah.
he has not gotten any acknowledgement at the city or anywhere else.
Yeah.
And he's part of those numbers.
Oh, for sure,
From the
100%.
Britons
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, no, Riley Haggard was the one we hired to help us project manage this. So yeah, amazing work. And it's his skill and knowledge that helped us. So thank you. And then just to acknowledge that we were at the Touch a Truck event at South Center. And so we had so many families show up. I actually, if you go to Instagram or our Facebook page, you can see the interaction of the students that were there. It's pretty fun. And many families were asking questions, enrollment. It was a great day for all. School starts, so this is different for us. So I just want to remind everybody, school starts on Wednesday, not Tuesday after Labor, Wednesday. So Wednesday, September 3rd, for all K-12 students. And then our kindergarten, just a reminder, they're half day for about a week, 5 days for Walk Kids assessment. So it's early release. And then all the early learning programs start the following week after September 8th. So that's my update. So we're getting ready and we're excited. So it's going to be a great week. So excited for the start.
Great, thank you. All right, so if we can go to the Board of Directors report. I'm gonna go to our president, Director Hoover first here and allow her, since I see her online right now.
Great, thank you. First, I just want to say, Dr. Pedroza, that's something incredibly amazing to celebrate 85 of our students. We were so just fortunate that we were able to, as you said, come together in a really quick amount of time and make this happen. So really thrilled to hear that our scholars are taking advantage of that. So kudos. I also Robin, sorry, I can't tell for sure if you're still there, but sorry I wasn't there to shake your hand. I just want to say thank you so much for your service and your commitment to the thousands of students who you've seen walk through that door. And just so grateful for you and the conversations that we've been able to have. And I just appreciate your service and your boldness. So thank you. And then just wanted to just name that unfortunately I'm not able to attend tomorrow's kickoff. It's my first time since being on the board that I'm not able to attend, but I have no doubt that it's going to be incredible. I've just seen them get better and better. So good luck to everyone as you start the school year, and so much looking forward to hearing how it goes. That's all.
Thank you, Director Larson.
So as was mentioned in the public testimony, I did go down to City Hall yesterday, just to give you a little context for the ordinance they're considering. So right now, the cannabis shops can open up in the far south area, down in the industrial area. My understanding, nobody has found a spot that they like down there, so there's nobody there.
It's been that way for a long time.
Yeah, right. So, and what this ordinance is about is opening up some other spots farther north in the city. And my concern was a little bit about where those places are. They have a map in there that's really hard to read because there's no street identifiers on there. They're just these kind of bubbles, and I'm researching a little bit more to see. My understanding is that there are areas kind of around Tukwila International Boulevard, which is where
The target there, there's nobody down there, and the target is apartment buildings, because there's
Yeah.
people there, so bring it to the people.
And so my concern about the Tukwila International Boulevard, that's, close to like almost all our schools. And so it was one of the more divided city council. I mean, they're gonna vote on something on September 8th, whether they want to do it or not, but it was kind of like 3 for and 3 against it, kind of a little squishy about, they didn't have to actually commit, but which is interesting because there's one city council seat that is kind of vacant now because one of the members is out on a extended health leave. And so they're interviewing people, including Director Kohler, to fill that open spot, which is going to get filled probably before September 8th, which means that whoever gets filled is probably going to be the deciding vote on that particular issue, at least at this point. We'll see how that develops. But anyway, so if anybody's interested, September 8th is what they have scheduled for the vote on that one. Let's see, actually, yeah, a number of students are here. I just wanted to maybe start something. I think a lot of times we need to kind of recognize the student leaders that have led things that have resulted in results. I talked about that a little bit last time with the environmental stuff that's going on for the awards that we got for the recycling, which was actually started by a student a few years ago. That we didn't really mention, but I know Mr. Camacho knows that student. It'd be good to celebrate that. Also, I was thinking about our student rep Aiden, who, a few meetings ago brought in the plastic instruments. And shortly after that, there was a grant to upgrade all our instruments. So, I want to recognize our students when they bring stuff up and then things happen. The other one that I hope we can do actually is the solar panel one. I mentioned I met with a couple of students in Mr. Camacho's class a couple of years ago, and they were passionate about solar panels, so we've now got a grant. So hopefully when we actually get the solar panels installed, we'll be able to, maybe Mr. Camacho knows where they are, either bring, if they're local, bring them back, to celebrate, or bring them in virtually or something, just to recognize their contribution. So hope we can kind of get in that mode a little bit as we go forward. So I've been attending the group that's looking at the portrait of a graduate, which is kind of trying to figure out how to incorporate, a lot of the 21st century skills, the creativity, collaboration, connecting with the community, all those kind of skills that we want to have in our graduates, to kind of formalize that, and figure out how to incorporate that. And we're kind of, that's starting up again. I guess Garrett's not here, but anyway, is leading that, our superintendent intern is leading that effort, and we're cranking it up again this year. We want to get a draft. There's a lot of those concepts are already laid out by the State Board of Education, and we're just going to kind of massage it and get it for us. But one of the things that we talked about is that we're actually in this district doing already many things that support that. Things like the robotics program, things like what's going on in the environmental science program, the drama program, the athletics. There's many things that incorporate a lot of those things, and so we're going to try and help identify some of those and kind of raise them up and show them as examples, and then maybe provide some, in some cases, more support for them. So as a way, as opposed to sometimes these initiatives can be, oh, that's another thing that's on our list to do, but in actuality, we're actually doing a lot of them, and we just want to elevate them and support them even more. And so anyway, that work's going on. So we'll see some outputs from that before too long. Yeah, I did mention before, I had a meeting with the mayor, and we've been talking about the Tukwila Promise and how many routes. So between the school district and the city, and maybe together, I think we need to do a good job of publicizing all that to the community, so everybody can celebrate with us and know the great work that's going on. That can be in the Hazelnut, it could be on our website, all those places. It would be great, so that everybody understands that the good stuff that's going on, and then maybe have some follow-ups, as maybe over the years a student graduates, and show the success of that program. So on the school directors, Washington State School Directors front, we're going to be having the what's called the General Assembly on September 20th, this Saturday, which is where all the school districts get together and vote on their legislative positions and so forth. So I'm going to be attending that. If anybody's interested, there's one voting member per district, but anybody else can tune in. It's virtual. It's all virtual actually this year. So if anybody's interested in that, just let me know. You probably got some notifications on it already, but so that's happening. It's this one this year is probably going to be a lot quicker than ones in the past. Like I think last year we had over 100 positions to consider, which sometimes it goes for a couple days, on and on and on. This year there's only 26, and there's not too many controversial ones, so it actually should go really quickly this year, hopefully. And yeah, the last thing I want to mention was I did attend a session with the state treasurer on financial education down in Olympia. It's an area that our students have constantly expressed interest in. I'm really interested in figuring out how we can incorporate that into there are already state standards related to that at all grade levels. And I understand our chief academics officer went to a region up in Everett, I guess. I drove down to Olympia, and then I got down there and I found out they're eventually going to have it also in Renton, which is, I don't know why, I was a little upset because driving down to Olympia at that time of day is really bad. But anyway, so hopefully we can take advantage of some of there's a variety of grants that are available to help our students. And the one that I will say I'm particularly interested in that particular area is educating particularly our graduating seniors about the financial aid packages that they get from colleges, because I've seen over the years,
when our students, most of them get some kind of package, because most of them either qualify for some scholarship, either the college grant, college bound scholarship, or now the Tukwila Promise. And if you're talking from the four-year schools, particularly, there's the grant portion, and then there's some kind of work study kind of part of it, and then there's loans. And that's the really dangerous part for our students is if they take those loans, they don't, that can be a problem. And kind of understanding what a loan is and what that means to your life down the road is, I think, a really important thing for not only our students, but our families to understand. And sometimes there's a lure to go to the four-year colleges, UW. We send a lot of students to UW, and I think a lot of them should be going there, but also sometimes, I've had a number of stories over the years where our students have gone there and incurred a loan and then had to drop out because they didn't make it. And probably a better choice. That's why I'm particularly excited about the Tukwila Promise, because a lot of our students are going to be better off going to Highline, getting on some, track that's going to get them to income quicker without a loan, which is really important. So anyway, hopefully we can get some education going in that area. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. I have nothing to report.
Okay. I have a couple things. One, at one point in time, get out in the community, people know I'm doing that right now, meeting a lot of people in the community. And I managed to re-engage with someone I met 2 years ago who was concerned about a bus route down 130th and not making the connection work. And I think I brought it up earlier this year, and council said, yeah, we addressed that, which was awesome. But there's nothing more enriching than going back to the resident and watching them sing praises to our school district for making that change. You need to know it impacts lives, makes difference, and it's touching to hear when someone really is just grateful later on that the change was possible. I did get an email from a resident worried about bus stop. Children on the loop, if you all know what the loop is, have to go out onto 42nd for their bus stop, and the parent sent me an email. I forwarded it to Concy. I know she's connected with them, but very concerned about the high speeds that are on 42nd Street. And I don't blame them. I've been out there on the sidewalk in my scooter for that same reason, meeting residents, and feared for my life a couple of times up there. So I hope there's a good remedy. I know that's kind of a big ask, but I hope there's a spotlight for that. Did you want to speak to that at all?
All I can say is that I forwarded that to Susie Kelly again, so she's addressing and looking into that, what she can do.
So far, I know her to be a miracle maker with no promises.
Yeah.
She always makes
She
people
always
fine.
tries to stick within the guidelines, but also do what she can for families, so, yeah.
Exactly.
I can double check tomorrow and find out where we are.
And I know Dr. Bergosa also mentioned BECU hygiene kits that came through. That was through a connection with the Tukwila Children's Foundation. The other ones came through other connections. I'm glad they all came through together. Impressive because not all of us could be there in the middle of the day to figure out how to get the hygiene kits, then how to get them up to the school, where to put them. And so you made the proper acknowledgement. Staff just found a way. You didn't get a lot of notice, and I just thank you for shaking hands with the foundation on that and making it possible for the kids. Moving on, I ran into a person who calls himself a nonprofit community foundation expert. I don't know the depth of this, but I've met this person 2 times, and they talk about fundraising processes. One that was important to Tukwila Children's Foundation, another half people may or may not know I wear, because I'm the president of them. Talking about community foundations that help corporations channel money to places like schools, as opposed to just individual all over, some nonprofits throughout maybe Tukwila. So that's a thought that we'll take in one direction. But he also talked about instead of the usual fundraising of asking corporations, trying to create something that creates its own revenue, provides jobs for youth. And he started to name a lot of creative ways that can be done. So I'm gonna work with Dr. Bergosa and see if the 2 of them can't meet, because I spoke, Dave's is concerned about the band program and the instruments as I am. And I talked about school scoreboards, and I talked about drama and how many programs became clubs and, we're uncertain with ups and downs of things, how they will survive. And so I'm hoping, this is a good connection, Dr. Perdosa, and I hope that at least his ideas can be sprung and you'll go, wow, this is great for us or not. And I hope to introduce you in the next couple of days and you guys can work out a meeting. I too was at Touch a Truck, but I was hanging out with the nerds, the Ham Radio Club. They are officially called the Tukwila Emergency Communications Team, Tech Team. They've gotten governor's awards for what they do, but this year it was hot and they put up the tent with no walls and they set up the radio set, which usually interests the parents. But I just want to say kudos to Mark Liam. He handmade, I guess there's a way to make Play-Doh. And he brought down every possible color you could possibly think and put it out there, plus a little ring toss deal. And that place was jamming with little kids in really hot weather. I thought, how are we gonna compare next to the fire department's big ladder engine? But we fared really well. So I just want to say it's fun to see the youth, and that event is just a magnet. And I'm glad that the school district did so well in registering our young scholars for the future. I'm going to attend the kickoff tomorrow. I'm also signed up for the Education Town Hall with Congressman Adam Smith on Friday. I have a new job, so that's a big ask to tell my boss I'm gonna be gone for, 3 or 4 hours, in the first 3 weeks on this job, and then I'm gonna be gone again for another hour and a half. But she's very supportive of what school boards are, and what it means to connect with communities. Sometimes it has to happen during the day. Trust me, I put in a lot of hours after hours to make sure that it's kosher. On the tail end of this, I am coming to the last meetings that I'm going to be attending. And I want to put this out there. My new job is I'm a technology manager with the 911 center at King County. And Dr. Perdosa, there are lots of students that come through on tours, and I would like to let you know that I can make that happen for any groups that you think that are interested. We are on the side of the house that is predominantly the phone call takers and dispatchers. But I just think it's fascinating what they do. So it might inspire people to think about careers in those directions. And I don't care what age they are. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the approval of the minutes from August 12th.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Can we do the approval of the warrants to fund capital projects funds?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Moving on to our board business and discussion. We're gonna start at the assessment calendar for review and discussion. Chief Whitbeck is here for if there's any comments or anything, if you want to take a moment. Is there anything that we need to, or if you feel you need to ask, now's the time.
I think it's concise and informative, and I really appreciate it.
Any thoughts? No? Director Hoover?
Not for me. Well, I mean, I always have thoughts, but I think my biggest wondering, but it's not even something that, I feel like needs to be addressed in this calendar, but, I'm always curious what additional thought has been given around the iReady in Spanish. Again, I know we've chatted about that a lot, so not necessarily something that needs to be addressed here and on the calendar, but something that stays in the back of my mind.
Okay. All right, so moving on, we'll go look at procedure number 3245, students telecommunication devices, review discussion. Are there any thoughts?
So I was looking at this, and I went back and it turns out there's a model policy that WASDA has on this, I guess. Yeah, it's a little confusing here because on procedure number, okay. So you're asking us to review the procedure, not the policy?
Yeah,
Okay, I missed that part.
Yeah,
Okay,
we approved the policy, I think, 2 meetings ago.
say that again?
We approved the policy 2 meetings ago.
Oh, yeah, oh,
Approved
okay.
policy,
Okay, so you're just looking for, okay,
This is the
okay. I
deeper
missed that
dive.
part.
and the policy came with the expectation to present the procedure,
Okay.
then, ahead of the school year, so that's why we're here now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I
No.
have just 1 or 2 thoughts. Is that okay? I wasn't sure if anyone else was jumping in. Okay. Just 1 or 2 thoughts. First off, thanks for putting this together. I know it's not always required or necessary that the procedure comes before the board. I felt that it was really important considering a lot of the dialogue we had around the policy. And so how it was implemented definitely felt really important to me, and I think was the right thing to do for students. So just a few thoughts on the policy. I really appreciate uh, clarification, right? And I think the really addition around the secondary school, particularly in the high school setting, that the policy really does talk about instructional time. Broadened it a little bit, so I appreciate that. I think there's a lot of reason to really be thinking about the benefits of minimal cell phones throughout the entire school day, not just during the instructional time. So I appreciate that. And then the one thing I just wanted to bring forward, and Dr. Bedrozo, I know we've had a conversation about this already, so you're already thinking about it. But in the policy, we had a lot of discussion, and I'm so sorry I don't have the letter in front of me right now. I don't have the policy in front of me, but a lot of discussion, particularly around the bullet that was addressing a teacher perhaps confiscating a cell phone, and perhaps looking through the contents if there was something that the teacher had a valid reason to assume that that a scholar was violating the policy. And again, we had a lot of discussion, and I think there's a lot of potential unintended outcomes that could go. I mean, there's kind of an endless potential for some negative things that could happen as a result of that. And so, all that to say, I want to make sure that that either gets addressed in the procedure or somehow modified, even bringing the policy back to us. That just makes that more clear. And I think it would also be beneficial to add something to procedure about when, let's say, if a scholar's asked to put their phone in their backpack X amount of times, is there a point when that phone might be taken? And if so, by whom? And where would that phone go? Just clarifying that a little bit as well.
So Andra Mon, Director of Student Services, she, her pronouns. Regarding the concern, and those can be spelled out to a degree, we also want to be mindful that this has cross-referenced with the discipline policy and procedure, which does outline search and seizure of student things. And we would not, if there was going to be a review of anything on the cell phone, it would not be by teachers. It would be by administrators only. And so being really clear about that we're not having that done at the classroom level, that if there is a concern, that it would be through administration, through following our procedures around that piece there. So I just wanted to address that to kind of hopefully help, and then think about like what that looks like. And then as far as the how the procedures are handled at the school level, that's also something that school teams will really look at. Like with these procedures now, what does that look like at the elementary school level? With these procedures, what does that look like at the middle school level and the high school level? So making sure that they're also age appropriate and how we're responding.
One of the things I shared that with Director Hoover before the start of this meeting, and that in my experience, it has been that the principal is the one that's handed the cell phone at that point in time. And so what I suggest, because that's not clear in the policy, so then I think I'm suggesting that we at least remove that language or refer to our discipline procedural processes, so that's clear, because it just says adult. And so what I'm nervous about that language in that frame, like for example, we have a field trip And then if a parent, right, so just making sure that that is super clear because it has to be a staff member, it has to be administrator. And so I just think we need to make that line clear, or we need to delete it or refer to the procedure. So that's something that we can talk about how to move forward. And I promised that I would have at least an updated version of that with a strikeout for vote at the next board meeting.
On the policy.
Just the policy, just only the policy. Yeah.
So there are like 3 levels I think about when all this is going on. One is just no distractions in the classroom. And everything I read here feels like that's where it's headed. It's attempting to create an environment where they learn and aren't really being distracted. Now, the second realm is just, I don't think you'd call me a power user, but I'm in a world that just uses every possible device that you can imagine. And so having that stripped of me as an adult would be really as debilitating as having no car, right, for some people. And so I look at this and go, if you're trying not to be distracting, I know that this phone was always on silent in these meetings, but once in a while I'm surprised by an alarm or some different kind of incoming message that sets off an alarm I didn't know existed. And it is my wristwatch that allows me to hit stop immediately, not go through, rummage through, do everything else. And so I get to the silence quicker by having that wristwatch there. And so I wonder if you're taking away their ability to be more efficient. I guess, deal with matters of that nature by taking everything off of them or having them stow it. Then there's a longer procedure to silence them. That's just a side thought. The next thought is, it sounds really good when you're picking to at some point or other, confiscate the equipment. I know Pastor Proctor mentioned, or Director Proctor mentioned that, what if we damage the equipment while it's in our custody? And I don't know, I know we heard it, we talked about it, but I don't feel it's well covered here. Do we feel insured or some safety net that if you drop my watch, step on it or crush something, or for some reason, somebody bumps an administrator and they drop it, where are we? That's a question. I got another one, but I just thought I'd stop there for a second.
Garrett Tishner, superintendent intern. You've heard. Get pronoun. So I did. We did clarify in the procedure that if phone is in possession of a staff member, then it is a school district responsibility. But outside of that, it is not the school district's responsibility. If the
Like a fellow student takes it. Okay, and then moving on from that, I'm in a world where there's lots of rules and there's an appeal process. And I think the remedy should be very quick, not protracted, because I think that would be very stressful for someone who's a youth who feels like, and I think I'm just starting to feed into a little bit of probably what Carly's talking about, who may be feeling that they were wronged and unjustly. And the longer and the more protracted that situation is suspended, the worse the impact gets. And so what are your feelings on that?
So there is an appeal process that is outlined in our school discipline procedures and policy. And there are timelines attached. I do want to be clear that those timelines are attached to actions and appealing the action. There isn't an intention that if we do confiscate a cell phone or that there's an action to a behavior that constitutes in a disciplinary action, that's what would be appealed, not we're not gonna remove or confiscate a cell phone and keep it indefinitely. It would be like, at the end of the day, you can come into the office and grab your phone before you go home. The appeal process would be around like the action, if there was a disciplinary action tied to a behavior that started with this process. And that's one of the questions that I know that was, how are we going to track this? And so that's one of the things that we're looking at. How are we going to monitor that within our system? And so looking at what that is, and then calibrating with our administrators on how we are going to code that so that we can keep track of like this escalated into this, but it began with the conversation around putting your cell phone away in class, you know, something along those lines. So being clear on that, but the appeal process and the timelines attached, those are our timelines, and those allow for investigation. They allow for a true like understanding of what the issue was and what happened. And so those timelines are outlined. And as always, we want to do things with efficiency. So we don't want to extend things if we don't have to.
Okay, and then the next round is trying to understand, you want the quiet and no distractions, but this is primarily my watch. So if you take my watch and my sense of time get away from me, it may be helping me get through a section on a test in a timely manner. It may help me keep clear on how I am giving a presentation. I have to move along quietly. Are you afraid I'm gonna use that watch to cheat on a test or something? Or that it's noisy and it'll distract somebody? Or that if I'm doing more than glancing at it, because notes can come to you, but you go, okay, it's mom, they want me to call it lunch. It seems to me that those will be innocuous and not distracting behaviors, at least in how a watch is used. Go ahead.
My feeling on that from teachers who have observed the way students use watches at times, and you know, albeit the use of watches is much less than just cell phones, but that it is around texting and the distraction that comes from monitoring texting. And so it may be an innocuous message from mom to call me at the end of the day, but just having to monitor that is the distraction, and wondering if another student has the ability to text or is going to be posting something is something that vigilance causes that distraction. And what is clear is that students have other devices that are at their disposal. There's a clock in the classroom. There's there are Chromebooks in the classroom that they can use with all of those provisions that they get out of the watch. And so somebody, you know, who's not a teenager might rely on an older watch, you know, in that way they can use those devices in the classroom.
Can I just add something, just from a developmental standpoint? Adults versus students, right? There's a lot of research around students' ability, especially young ages, under 18, to multitask.
Okay.
A lot of research. All of us believe we can multitask, but actually really only 25% of the population can. So then think about that for students, right? They really have a diminished capacity to multitask. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we actually have that focus on the learning pieces. They say between ages 23 and 25 is the brain fully develops, right, into 25. So comparing an adult experience to a student experience is very different. And so we want to maximize learning. We want to make sure we minimize distractions. We also want to be reasonable, because we also understand that devices are part of the world, which is why there is allowances for high school versus middle school. They're developing, they're maturing. They have more to organize. We have Running Start students that need that device to manage going to their colleges, transportation, the bus routes, all of those things. So that's why it's different, especially up until middle school, because the research is pretty compelling about, especially distractions between the ages of 10 and 15. I mean, it's pretty compelling how that's a really targeted time where, as anyone that's worked in a middle school, it's just an interesting time. Those of us who parented middle schoolers, it's a really challenging time. And so I think that's where the learning comes. And then, and I think managing all those tasks and all the things they're trying to manage internally, right? I think we have to be the adults and supporting them into that learning.
And then another thought was, parents use phones and devices to keep track of where their student is in terms of a location. And when I put it into an envelope in my backpack that's near me, they know where I'm at and what's going on, basically, where they can. Whereas if I don't want them to try, I mean, we'll take that, the non-positive path. All I have to do is act up and have you compensate my device. And now they no longer have no idea where I'm at for the rest of the day. You've literally cut off their ability to know where their child is. Have you considered that?
So I hear that, and for students to have that piece where families have like the family plan where you can see where people are going and where they're at, they still know that they're at school, they still know that they're safe, they still know that they're in class. They also know that if they're not in class, they're going to get an attendance call that pings them and says, you know, your student missed this class today. So they do know they're still at school. They do know those things. And so just where within the school building, you know, that might not show exactly where they're at, but they know that they're at school and they know they're safe.
And then the paragraphs that I read regarding the restroom, I assumed that we're focusing on it being disabused for filming and taking photographs and then being posted on social media. How on earth are you going to enforce that?
There are two things, if I can just say about the location piece,
Sure.
that also there are the parent advisory committee raised this question with us as we were just formulating the policy for especially very young students who might have devices just for that purpose. There are also some high school students who have where their families have set up apps on the phone, which lock the phone down except for that one
Feature.
purpose. And those are the sorts of things that individual school procedures can accommodate if that's determined not to be disruptive. And so we're open to that at the school level. And, you know, for certain grades. In terms of the restrooms, the purpose of stating it now in policy is to have called it out in the event that there is an issue. Now, it's not enforceable, you know, and speaking of being in middle school, I had bathroom duty in my first teaching job. I had 8th grade boys bathroom to stand in it every passing period. So we're not talking about that here, but by stating it, we can identify that as being a rule which will be followed up on if there is a problem.
My last question is, Jane Doe, John Doe student is an exceptional student in all categories, but they run up a whole bunch of charges and confiscations, and it keeps putting a black mark against them or some kind of, you know, demerit. What are we really, I understand all the things we're trying to cure, but is that an outcome that we want to have on somebody? Because I know that the average ones don't have this, and some that will perform probably even more poorly because they keep getting called out. So I'm just taking the excellent student just to be extreme and say, what are we really trying to do in terms of disciplinary action?
So that's kind of a layered concern. Anytime any student demonstrates a pattern of behavior that we're observing, we're going to respond to it. And we're going to try and understand what's the concern. So what's then the replacement? If this is a student who continues to struggle this, trying to understand what that's about, and then it becomes more a student-centered response that we can work out with an individual student and their team and whoever may be involved with that, their teachers, their family, themselves, and hearing, you know, what's going on here, that your cell phone is becoming such a barrier to your participation in instruction in class, and what's going on there, and then like addressing it through that pathway to make sure that we're identifying what is the function of that. Is it that my phone's out and I'm having a struggle with a teacher and how that relationship is going, then we need to talk about the relationship with the teacher and the student, to look at that. If it's a student that is forgetful, what are the tools that you need in place? Like a little checklist that's visual. Is my cell phone put away? Am I ready for class? There's different ways that we can respond to that behavior in a proactive way, but we never want it to be something that's gonna turn into something that is just a continuous, like, we're gonna, we know that doesn't work by just like going back and forth. We have to actually find out what is the issue and then address what the actual issue is, the function of that behavior. Anytime that we're gonna see a pattern that would come up from that. So we would address it through that avenue.
Thank you very much. I think this document is well written, modeled after a lot of really good examples. I think it does, it may have to be a living document as you learn and adjust. The hardest one is the enforcement piece, and I'm glad I'm not on the team that has to figure all that out. But it still sounds like you're centering students and trying to get them in a place where they can do their best in school. So thank you.
Thank you.
My only comment is, I think it's done well. I think you guys did a good job. Tried to look at every avenue that you possibly could. There's always going to be the one exception that you're not going to be able to put in a policy. I get that. So we need to trust the adults that are there, that are doing discipline every day on other issues other than this. But this is a great outline to begin. I appreciate you calling out the behavior, even if we can't enforce it as it is, it still needs to be in the document so we can look for it, and then the living document agency, and as technology changes, it's gonna need to be updated anyways, for it. So I think it's good. I think it's well done. It's a great start. And so I can see that you guys took a lot of time and effort into it. And I know we have very capable administrative and disciplinary teams, and it can just kind of go up through the regular channels as it does, but we needed something there to kind of get on there. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that it's in place before the school year starts so that we can really
Yep.
be there. So thank you.
Is there any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on, we're gonna move to the lease amendment parking final review. I'd like to just kind of state final review. Great. So if there's any questions, comments on the final review.
My only question is,
Go
does
ahead.
the pool concur with all the language that's in here?
Yes,
Okay.
we've had several meetings. Just to share the process, since the last school board meeting, we actually had a follow-up meeting with the pool group and our team. We reviewed line by line. There was a couple follow-up editing suggestions. As of today, we even checked with the pool as of today. So everything we believe is final and agreed to by both parties. And also have a legal review by our legal team.
Great.
I'm good.
Director Hoover, are you still there?
Yes, I am here.
Do you have any comments on the final review of the lease?
Just want to say thank you for the patience and the diligence of both the pool team and the Tukwila team. And
Thank
for
you.
us as a board and really kind of digging in. So thank you for getting us across the finish line.
Great. Well, if there's no more questions or comments, it looks like we are ready to move forward on the lease amendment. Let's move on to the questions only presentation. We have summer school report. Any questions on the summer school report?
Well, I just want to say, so I visited this summer school both at Showalter and Thorndike, the elementary schools, and particularly the one at the elementary school was really well done. They had a good set of curriculum. It was interesting. There was a lot of solar and robotics involved, which was really appropriate. They had like a cricket powered, solar powered cricket running around. And the kids were playing with that and learning about insects and crickets and so forth. The other thing that was impressive about the elementary was all the Washington, University of Washington education students. So there's really small groups, you know, which is ideal. I mean, the whole summer school was intended for the MLL students and students who were learning English and so forth. And having the small groups was really, good. I'm looking forward to, hopefully we can track, how the students do, you know, in their growth going forward. We've never been able to do that. And so I think that's going to be key to say. I mean, it all looks like it was really great, but we'll be able to kind of have some measures associated with it. And there was a lot of students. I mean, we have 450 or almost 500 students between all the different programs. I will say that the shelter program wasn't, I went to a few classrooms. It wasn't quite, I think, as well put together. The parents were invited in, and I rented a few parents that were wandering around trying to find their kids' classroom. I know it's a little more challenging at Shoulder because there's the two wings and so forth. But it seemed like that one wasn't quite as well organized as the one at the elementary schools. But anyway, I was really happy. It's one of the key elements of how you improve academics is more educational time, and the program, was pretty much, especially at the elementary school, engaging all the students who were engaged in the classroom, and partly because of the curriculum, partly because of the small groups, and it was just really well organized. So thanks to all those who worked on that.
I have one little question, and it's on page 4, the progress monitoring. Just trying to wrap my brain around what's going on. There are two, so I'll wait till you get there, page 4. No chart called progress monitoring. Satellite news, language arts, etc. And when I get down to science, it says there's 6 students, 10 enrollments, so I don't know the difference, and that 8 people completed it. So what does that mean when you say 6 students, 10 enrollments?
So this is specific for credit recovery.
Okay.
This section, and so there are some students who were enrolled in more than one course that they needed to make.
Okay.
So that's.
So my brain
that's the
now
number of
says
credits that they were.
So out of 6 students, they enrolled in 10, and of those they completed 8.
Right.
Thank you very much.
It'd be great to hear how many of these University of Washington teachers come back. I know.
Plan on returning.
We hope some of them, we grab some of them.
Oh, they want to come back. Yeah, no, this is exciting. The University of Washington interns want to come back. So we're really excited about that. So what happened was, Bellevue had to cancel they had them going to Bellevue School District, summer school. They had to minimize that. And so we benefited from that, and they're excited to work with us next year. So this has been a little bit of a gift to us. So we're really excited about that.
I guess I want to say thank you, because that was a lot of students for summer school to run. I know that wasn't the original plan, and that it swelled up, and that is fantastic, especially at where we're at. So that's a great job, well done in getting those. That's a lot.
Can I just share one thing? When I was there and visiting the schools, I was talking to some of the Spanish speaking parents, and I asked them how it's going. They're going, perfecto, perfecto, perfecto. So that was really great to hear from them directly. Perfect. They were just saying they were really happy. And so so just to share some little bit of highlight some changes, we extended it an extra week. So instead of a 3-week program, it was a 4-week program. We decided, because we got some apportionment later, specifically earmarked for MLL students, so then we doubled the number of students we could enroll. And then we partnered with Boys and Girls Club to make sure that students had access to their programming for minimal costs. Those are for our students as well as the students who didn't qualify for summer school programming. So we tried to think about all of the things and also lessons from last year as well. And we had to work hard because that means when you add students, you're adding routes for transportation and et cetera, and et cetera. So everyone had to pivot, kind of do some shifting, because it was a big task to shift when we got that apportionment. But I think it was the right thing to do. And it was a wonderfully well-run program. And I'll just share one tidbit too, some of the kits that were used in the middle school, actually, the principals actually buying some of those kits to supplement some of their STEM programming. So that's great, because they're gonna do more project-based learning in the classrooms, so.
The other comment I'd say, I noticed some of our most experienced teachers volunteered for summer school, which is really good. So thanks to them for
Yeah.
taking their summers to
Yeah.
spend a little time with the
Yeah, it's a
students
lot
that
of
need
effort.
extra support the most.
Yeah, all the
To be
staff.
clear, they did not volunteer. But
Well, I mean, they could have
Absolutely.
chosen not
It's
They
to.
could have,
that they stepped
given
up.
it- yeah, all the staff was, thank you.
Yes,
It's very
Yeah.
incredible effort.
yes, Adam Scar, the coordinator at the elementary school, and Brittany LaRoque at the middle school and secondary school, they both went above and beyond. I want to also be sure to thank the Technical Children's Fund for making that Boys and Girls Club partnership really function.
Yeah.
They came through with the membership, that was really essential.
I'm blown away at how quickly the team was able to take more students in and then do such a great job. And, you know, on it, I mean, doubling the students and adding a week is fantastic. And so thank you. I mean, I don't know who's listening, but summer staff, all the way down from the people that had to clean up all the way up to the people that were checking them in. I mean, everybody just had to level up definitely and quickly, you know, to do it. So thank you very much.
You're
We got a
right,
good team
that
here.
everybody pitched in lots of ways.
Great.
All right, is there any more comments on summer school? I don't know.
Elder, I think. One last question. Like nothing but accolades here, but are there some takeaways from this that you would change for next year?
Well,
Lessons learned?
yeah, I would say, you know, some of the observations around family involvement at the middle school are appropriate. We hadn't done a family day last year at the middle school level. And so that was a new thing this year, and I think we learned some things there, maybe to have the high school students be the observers, kind of the intergenerational observers for the middle school students there on site, and that would give them an audience and kind of a structure for it. So we've talked about that. I think then we've also got some big learnings around when the decisions get made around, you know, what the budget allows for and that sort of thing, so that we can have the staffing and the transportation in place in time without scrambling at the last
Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, is there any more comments for summer school? Dr. Hoover, just making sure.
None for me.
Okay, great. We're gonna, thank you. Move on with the early withdrawal report. Policy 3123. Is there any comments? Sure, I do right away. So the very first thing is, I really appreciate like page 1, Parker giving me the reason why she thinks that happened. It's just gonna streamline it for me, you know, and I think for the board is why, you know, why are we having it? Here's the reason that we're seeing this is the take from it, you know, and for next year. So that right there is, I appreciate that. I know we've asked for that in the report. So that's my only comment, because as I read through this, it was very clear to me what was going on. So thank you.
Yeah, this one is always, when we get presented data without, you know, the context of the trend or, you know, comparison to other schools, it's hard So it's hard to tell, is it good? Is it bad? I mean, are we improving? Are we going backwards? So, so you have some indicators, some research you'll do to try and figure out what that is, because I always, data just standalone doesn't really tell a story, without some context to it. And I don't think I'm not sure that we've had this early withdrawal report for a while, so like I said, I don't know if these numbers are particularly good, particularly bad. Different, I don't know.
I thought it was interesting that the withdrawals were nearly equitable between gender. And that makes me wonder from the early get-go, when you see some of the suggested reasons, is families that are moving.
Yes.
Right, and they're just relocating, and that's what the real source is. I don't get the sense, this will sound silly, because some of these you don't know why you didn't track them.
Right.
Whether they were stated or not, we just weren't given the information. It still sound weird, but do we have exit interviews with families? Do we do those spot checks and say, hey,
Yes.
everything good, it's appropriate, you're right, we're fine, you're in camp, but
Great question. And I've asked the principals at different grade levels to see what is their practice. And the pattern has been that they do, if the parents tell them that the child's moving, then they do some, street data kind of, okay, tell us more about this, or you're happy with, whatever the questions are to gauge their experience. But you can tell in the bar graphs that a large percent of kids, for example, if I'm in school, the kid just doesn't show up, and then for another week, the child still is not there. And they don't know until they get a records request from another district that the child is no longer in the district. So, and by then maybe they don't have a chance, they have a phone number, no way to really contact, and they have a large number of turnover. So that's why there's a fair number of unknowns. That was the theme from all the principals I spoke with.
so I noticed locally in the Cascade View area, we've got the whole thing going on with the silence
Yes.
speakers, but I also talked to parents who've just withdrawn their kids from school for various reasons, and are homeschooling. Some of them are in faith communities that are offering courses that are more aligned with their cultural feelings. And they pulled out, and I'm just wondering how well we're tracking that. And the most important thing is just figure out if they're disappointing in us, or what our other places are going and offering. And is it a big stretch for us to do the same, or, obviously if they want to be raised in a Catholic church or something, it's not something we're gonna match, right?
Right.
But just, that, when you lose track of them, there's nothing we can do, but the ones we don't lose track of, I have a burning interest in, like, anything we could have done better, or is that just it? You had to move, or job took you, or, we were okay, but we've had people come and speak to us who were pulling their kids from schools, and I don't want them to be the only voices, and I just wonder where the balance is.
And as we talk with principals and working with their office staff, that when we can anticipate that family might be moving, should just go ahead and ask the student, or the low ones may not know as high schoolers, they'll know. And then maybe they can do the cut perception checks.
Yeah.
So to be a little more proactive on that rather than waiting. It's with hundreds of kids, it's difficult. That's something that's worth the effort.
Thank you.
Any more comments or questions? On the early withdrawal report, Director Hoover or Director Larson? Okay, if not, moving on to the annual report for policy 3241. No, I'm sorry, policy and procedure number 6.
How you doing?
I apologize. So you could have just stayed up here, Chief, look back.
Yes. All this says policy.
Oh, I just a little clarification. So I'm assuming to resume in FY 27, FY meaning
Oh, that's fiscal year.
fiscal year. Thank you. That's perfect. So in 2027, so then the order will be, on the second document here. We're talking about the human resources, financial budget. So we're gonna go and is that the order that we're going to be doing Okay, perfect. And this is gonna fiscal year 2026.
Yeah, so the policy said to suspend for 1 year, just as a reminder to everyone.
Yeah.
And so the procedure has laid out the audits for the next few years and in the order that we will conduct them. We decided to prioritize some of the interests based on the conversations we had at the last board meeting. And so prioritizing that first and then going down the list. Of course, these will all have to be considered with planning for budget implications with our CFO, but now that she has the document, here's your planning document.
My next question is who's going to be researching, who's going to be auditing? Because I would assume we're going to be doing that in 2026 for a 27 audit. We're going to figure out a couple of different bids of people coming in
Yes.
and the auditors. Is that right?
Mhm.
And I see, whose responsibility is that?
That is actually me and the CFO's responsibility.
We'll be finding the auditors for the
Yeah,
26.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's
Mhm.
what I need to know. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? We kind of talked about this before. We knew we were
Yeah.
gonna do it for the year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, now really moving on to the annual report for 3241. Yes. With our belong partner, I believe. Great. Are there any questions or comments?
So it's interesting, I was looking at some of the, large increases and disproportionalities and, a couple of them seem to be tied back to gender, male in particular, which is nothing new. It was interesting, I was on NPR, in the middle of the day, they have a show called On Point, which is actually has a whole series on the miseducation of males. Have you heard that? It's full of all kinds of, I don't know if there's anything new in there, but it's a lot of good ideas to think about in terms of, because this is a chronic issue that comes up year after year after year after year. And, there isn't, I don't know that we've had kind of an intentionality about, what we're doing to help the boys that are, getting these high discipline rates. And it's not like there isn't a shortage of ideas and things that we know pretty much work. And so, so there's, increased suspensions, rising conflicts, informal sports activities before high school and lunchtime. Take a wild guess and that there's a lot of boys in that activity. And, I guess I can just, recommend listening to that NPR because it's full of, if you look at our ideas about what to do, and it's, there's a whole list of things. One of them is time which I haven't really appreciated probably as much as before is, so boys' relationship with their teacher, it's all relationship, right? Nothing new. Relationship with their teacher is really important in terms of motivating them to want to do well as recognizing, their needs to move and be kinetic and, all the things we do with project-based learning. And having spent enough years, working in the elementary school robotics labs, the boys are just moving around all the time, which is exactly what they should be doing. And so anyway, that's just, hopefully we can kind of figure out how to get some of that infused into our system to get these numbers to come down, because this is obviously, it's not just a district, this is a nationwide issue, and it's been around for years, and hopefully we can, have some ideas about how to intentionally go about doing that. So
Yeah, so Andrew Mon, Director of Student Services, she, her pronouns. So one of the things, and I appreciate that, and yes, we are definitely disproportionate in that area, as you can see by our, our pretty drastic charts there. But I do want to actually just call out and remove gender from the conversation and more thinking about how are we like creating belonging and identity-centered responses and relationships between our students and our educators and every single staff member in the building, and how we're greeting them. So a student coming in, regardless of like you're late versus, oh, I'm so happy you're here, welcome. And even starting with some of those very simple things and centering our work on our adult behaviors and how we respond to behavior of our students, regardless of what it is, and then creating and centering activities through our work around multi-tiered systems, through universal design of how are we creating classroom spaces that are engaging for all students, regardless of gender, and also looking at and where are the gaps and what are the training pieces that we need for our educators and all staff in the building, because these are things that can come up in the lunchroom, on the playground, before school, after school, in the hallway. And many of these probably are more stemming from unstructured activities, as was the example that around Showalter and around the recess in soccer, and then thinking about some activities around. Now, we know that Showalter has done some work as a team to identify what is going on here, what is our data telling us, and now how are we going to respond, and creating a plan specific to the response around what their specific data is telling them. And so that's really the work of the school teams, and thinking about like, where does our school fit within here? And now what do we need to do about it? Like, how are we responding? How are we supporting all of our students in engaging them in learning, engaging them in the pro-social activities that we want them to see, and not some of these more, behaviors that can get them excluded or get them, out of class.
And that was one of the things that the NPR thing was talking about too, which is not surprising because it's all true and everything. When you do these kind of good practices, they actually are good for everybody. And we see the same thing in, all students and special, all these things. So it's, I agree with it, that concept. So the other thing I was looking, so we got a copy of the student advisory board, year-end report. So it's got a bit of a different subject, but maybe not too much different, is the thing around safety and bullying and all that kind of stuff, which is, I know, tends to be a little spiky at elementary, or middle school, and it's, I attended one of the student advisory committee. That's one of the big things they were talking about. And, the question is kind of how do we get a handle on that? Part of, because this all ties in, of course, to attendance. When you talk about we have lower attendance, students don't want to come to school. Why do they not want to come to school? Because they don't feel safe at school, they're getting bullied. Therefore, there's a list of things, but, so we initiated, and I've been, students have been talking about this for years, the bullying issue. And like I say, the one meeting I attended that they were talking about, an immigrant girl who got bullied in the bathroom at Showalter, for example. And, so how do we, we started this, Hear Me Wah, and the question, we've done kind of, that anonymous reporting system before, and it never seemed to work, partly because when I ask the students, about it, they say no. So, I guess my first question, so the student advisory, and this may be a task, the student advisory can take up is, ensure that their peers are aware of the system, because when I ask the question, it says, well, you've gotten nothing back from it, which tells me probably that the students either don't know about it, or they don't feel like it's going to make any difference, or they feel like they're snitching on, a whole variety of things could come up in their minds. But we need to figure that out and then, get it so they can actually when these bullying things come up, because it's been on their mind for years and years and years, and it doesn't seem like we're making any dent in it.
Mhm.
And so that's, I guess, my other.
Can I just address the Hear Me Walk? It's from the
I
student.
was going to also.
Well, I was just gonna talk about the student advisory piece when I was
Okay.
there. They were part of the process of approval of that.
Mhm.
And they talked about the fact of a campaign, right? Like,
Yeah,
what does that look
okay.
like? And I'll let you talk about the next pieces
Mhm.
on that.
Yeah.
And the reason why the students and the team wanted to go with Hear Me Wah is because what was missing into anonymous reporting systems in the past is those anonymous reporting systems actually just took the report and that was it.
Mhm.
This one has a referral process for counseling and support,
Mhm.
which I think is critical.
Yeah.
And so now I'm gonna leave it to you to talk about the interconnections and next steps. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to share from this, being in the room with the students, when they were processing that information, they engaged, and that's why we decided to move that way. It was their recommendation based on what was the aftermath for them to support them for next
Yeah.
steps.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'm actually really excited about it, because previously we used Vector, which is an online reporting system, and I think it's true, both things are true. One, they don't know about it. They've been told, it came in a memo somewhere, we said it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And what we also know is that we don't repeat things as frequently as we should. And so making sure that there's multiple touch points throughout the school year to make sure that students are educated on the tools that they have and resources. The other thing is that the Hear Me Wah is different in the sense of it's a more robust system. So it'll go to me, it'll go to Aaron Dragonov, and it'll go to Gabe Gutierrez. And so those are the people who will respond on the district level. And it's truly an anonymous reporting. There's somebody 24 hours on the other end who is monitoring the reports that come in, and then they code it on like a tiered response of like what constitutes, oh, we need to call 911. This is a safety issue right now. This is something that the school can follow up around, like counseling, reporting, and connections there. And so there's that piece. The other piece is that I've created lesson plans that can be done in advisory, and that schools can edit to make needs fit their needs around like their students and what that is and looks like. So making sure that there's actual instruction on how to use it and how to access it and where it is. And then I asked for 200 posters, and I think I got like 20, so I asked again, and there's more to come, but I want to blanket the school, have them in classrooms, have them in bathrooms, have them in the office. And so the students are at least, they'll hear about it in class, because it'll be something that'll be focused on in every single classroom, either through advisory in our secondary classes or in classroom meetings in our elementary classes or schools. And then now they'll just see it, and it'll just be something that's there. Now, will they use it? That's still to be determined, and it's gonna be something that's dependent on students. And also our students are still gonna go to the people that they trust. They're still gonna go to their teachers. They're still gonna go to administrators. And so this just gives a different platform. The other piece of it is that family members can also do reporting on it, and or somebody can report on somebody else. So if I have a report that I want to give about Director Simpson, I can go on there and say, I have a concern about so-and-so. Can you please address it? Then I'm not going to get a follow-up that, my piece is done and they're clear, but then the school team will wrap around Director Simpson around whatever their issues may be, as an example. So I think it'll be good. I think it's a new platform.
Yeah.
They have done a lot of social media around it. There's video clips that can help engage students more in understanding what it is. It's put on and funded and supported through the Sandy Hook Promise. And so really looking at how looking at school safety from a holistic lens will do that. And so is it gonna be perfect? No, we'll muddle through it, but I'm excited about where we're at and where we're going.
Yeah, this is what you described as a much more robust
Mhm.
implementation than has ever been tried here before. So looking forward to that. I recommend, and I asked for this, I'm not sure why we didn't get this report originally, but the student advisory board these are a lot of good ideas they have in there, which we should absolutely be incorporating into, all kinds of things that we're doing.
It was
So-
just completed in, I think, June-ish, where the report was finalized, and
I'm
so,
guessing, it has kind of Alex written all over it, but.
yeah.
I mean, it's.
Yeah, but this is
the
the report for the,
Yeah.
this current. board.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Hot off the press.
good. Sounds
And
good.
just to add on to that, I think it's awesome to have that structure in place and a robust response. And then the other piece that's gonna reduce the bullying and the increase belonging is the social emotional learning
Mhm.
practices and trauma responsive communities and inclusive, all of that work. So having a structure in place so kids have a safe way to ask when they need help, but then also how are we building everyone's skills about being an upstander and what that means, and then how do we have our eyes on who those kids who are doing the bullying, those are hurt humans, how are we supporting them? Like, I think there's a lot of other things that are in place
Yeah.
in your schools that eventually make a difference and an impact.
So could you,
Absolutely an ability to kind of, watch a little bit what's going on and then kind of measure the implementation as those things get implemented, hopefully, what's successful, what's not successful.
Yeah, and I think there's continuous instruction and support we need to do around bullying, because a student might say, I'm being bullied. And then you talk to the student, you do the investigation, and you respond and you realize, oh, it's a conflict that's mutual. And
Yeah.
then you address both sides. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of different outcomes that can be an entry point from a concern. And then thinking about now as an administrative team, as a school, human services, our counselors and social workers, our educators, everybody, now how are we gonna support whatever it is around the concern?
But if we increase the awareness, then
Mhm.
you can start to make, otherwise it just festers. I mean, I think.
Yeah, and I
So-
think there's a family element too, right? Like
Yeah.
families use that word, I mean, that's a word that gets an action and it gets used a lot.
Yeah.
It's on social media, it's on TV.
Yeah, yeah.
And so how do we inform families and, all of that? I think it's really important.
so real quickly, just a little Cougar Pause program. I think I understand, it sounds like it's positive reinforcement for deeds or kind things.
Mhm.
You might want to describe it better than I just did. How do you know that it impacted the disciplinary processes by 65%?
So what you're seeing here, like the bright spots that administrators said, like, these are the things that are going really well in our building. And so can we say that Cougar Pause created a 65% reduction by itself? No. But what it is that it's a positive engagement with scholars. And it's one strategy among others that they did that created opportunities for student success and engagement in classrooms. So I don't think that the intention of calling out here was to say that's a direct correlation. It's more around, these are the things that we're doing that are really working and that we're celebrating and we're excited about. And this is the outcome based on this, plus all of the other things that we do as educators to support our students within our schools. So I think it's both things, and I don't think that that's like the direct correlation around that. It's just a strategy that they're excited about to celebrate.
Because I don't understand it completely, I assume they received Cougar Pause's merits for doing something right. Is it posted somewhere or is it like a
Yeah,
challenge point? What is
so
it?
some of, and it's mostly in our elements. Cougar Paws are at Cascade View.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I see something doing great, here you go, here's a Cougar Paw. And then they can collect them, and then what they do with them can be, there's varied responses. I can't speak to the specifics around like that actual system, but it is something like, oh, here, I see you doing something really well, here you go. Or I caught you doing something great, or hey, you follow this expectation. I know you've been working hard on that. It's been hard for you, like, here you go. So there's different reasons why teachers might give them out. But yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Just want to circle back around to what you said before, kind of when you said the difference of showing up and saying you're late or, glad you're here. So it makes me think of professional development. Where are we at with that for this year for it? And then how are we making sure that what we're taking the time and money to do is being implemented with our scholars?
Mhm.
And I'm just if you could kind of help me understand that as
Mhm.
best you can.
Very good question. And so it is definitely a focus, and around the strategies around how to support our students and engage them. It's really the work of looking at our multi-tiered systems of support and understanding that's more than just academics. It's also around social emotional development. And so the professional development plan is still in process. Like, those are things that our curriculum council, as well as our teacher leadership teams within schools, will identify. These are the key areas based on our data. what do we need specifically here, and then tailoring activities throughout the school year on the early release Wednesdays, either in the principal or district directed time, or within individual school team, teacher teams, ESA teams, health services teams, PLCs, around looking at how are we supporting like these goals holistically. So it'll be throughout that. And the other piece around it is that like where tomorrow's our all schools, everybody coming in, we're gonna learn about microaggressions, and that'll be another area of focus around how are we, understanding our own biases, and how are we using and better understanding that, so that we can better support our students, and really looking at how do we make sure that students feel they belong. So we centered that. I just did our special education launch last week. It went really well. I'm super excited. And our whole focus there was just around belonging and centering and thinking about strategies. And that work was really around, what is the strategy? Can you name it? If you can't name it, you're not doing it. So now what is it? What are the things, the elements that create that success? And so then working with the school leaders to now say, okay, now what does this look like when you're doing development with your team and staff? So a lot of it is really around leadership development, and then looking at how they're engaging, they're building leadership teams, their race and equity teams, their hope teams, their multi-tiered systems of support. My pie in the sky dream would be the building leadership team is your MTSS team, because that's truly the work. And then thinking about how do we infuse that throughout all of the things that we do, all of the actions, all the professional development we do within and in front of our students. The other piece is our partnership with Belong Partners, and they're coming in again this year to do professional development with schools, also on the early release Wednesdays. And a lot of that will be centered around how to engage, how to support, and you can speak to it more around like what that will look like. But so that'll be the other element there around professional development specifically.
So if I wanted to understand it right, so there are leadership teams within each school that, I'm not sure, are you directly training, or you have a staff that's helping train to implement what we're talking about here, professional development with the students, and is that happening how often? So when you say there's Smart Wednesdays, I mean, how often are we doing this part?
So am I doing the direct professional development for the building
Or
leadership
just-
teams?
or-
No, but we are doing, me plus others, all of us are supporting our building leaders through our principal, PD, our work with our building leaders around that. It's really around their school improvement plans and their goals, and like thinking about how to infuse those through lines from everything that we do, centered in how are we engaging our students here and flipping the narrative, because what we say matters, the words we use matter, and how we welcome our students and focus on belonging. So in talking with the principals, the work that they're doing over the next couple of days is really around this. How are we centering like belonging and engagement around some of those specific strategies of how do you welcome students versus like, some of the things that might come off, and how do we take care of ourselves so that we can be prepared and present for our students. And so that's what that piece will look like. And as far as like how many of the early release Wednesdays will be focused on that, off the top of my head, I don't know, but that is the PD calendar. There's a lot in there, but multi-tiered systems of support and universal design are the key components for the district's like priorities this year. And so that is really where it's going to be centered when we're not doing cumulative, or we're not doing some of the operational things that we have to do. Does that answer your question?
It does. It sounds like they're already built in, that you have already. So if we took a calendar out, there's a calendar somewhere that we can look at and say, okay, this is where these are gonna be plugged in and trained in.
Yeah.
So the dates have already been established, so the calendar's broken up for the early release days into 3 components. One is educator directed day, where they direct their day, so to meet in teams. Principal directed, which is the majority of the work here being done during the principal directed days. And then there's district directed days, and our focus for those district directed days will be focusing on similar things, but it'll be the academic side of the house with the universal design, MTSS systems, strategies focused on our exceptional learners in the classroom. So that's been designed already. We have those days plugged in. But it's mostly the school-based ones, because what happens is when they do the PD, they have to disperse out. Each school's been assigned a facilitator through Belong Partners, and then they coordinate and plan out. There's principal directed days in schools, and there's an equal number, and I can give you those numbers. I can give you a skeletal copy of at least the days, and where they're directed, but, principals are designing those right now with their team leads.
And when we do our work, it is really in response to what is happening in the school. So, they're looking at their discipline data and noticing that they have defined some disrespect referrals. And so then we're like, what are the de-escalation strategies? What are the educator practices that we can do a PD around? So it is responsive to what is happening in the school, and creating a experience and skill building with educators, depending on what the needs are.
Great. Yeah, I would, definitely like to
Yeah,
see.
okay,
Yeah.
I can send that to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the skeletal piece where at least all the dates and what the specific pieces are, I can get that to you.
Is
We had a
there,
meeting on it today.
good timing.
Good timing.
All right, is there anything else for policy 3241? If not, we'll move on to, thank you, to the monthly financial statement. We haven't seen this one today. Is she not here today?
Oop,
He's right up there.
Is she?
she's right there.
What, hiding?
She's at the parent group.
Tell them with the parents.
She's
I'm
hanging
like, I
at
haven't
the
seen
pool.
her in a day.
She's hanging at the pool table.
Okay, well, yes, I will definitely have a question,
Welcome to.
but it's gonna hit all the way down. So we're gonna have our action items at the end. We're going to approve some hires. And so I just want to make sure that we're reflecting that in our report here. And so, instead of asking it there, I'm gonna ask it here. So how are we looking for our hires that we're going on? Are we still at our 2%? Where are we with all that? I'm sure we kind of gauge that, I'm assuming.
So Amy Fleming, CFO, so I cannot speak necessarily for human resources, but yes, we are. Everything that we're doing right now in the hiring realm has been budgeted for the next fiscal year, which falls in line with that 2% ending fund balance that we were projecting for the next fiscal year. So there's no concerns in that area. Everything that has been budgeted for is what we're hiring for right now.
Okay, that's as clear as I needed it to be. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else on?
I have no questions. I'm already on to the financial projections. So. I'm
Our
already-
forecast?
Yeah.
Okay, no one else, our financial projection. Any questions or comments?
I'm just gonna say, reading what we're reading, how do you feel about where we're at? And how much closer to making steps towards getting out from under finding conditions on at this state?
So I'm feeling pretty confident. When I'm doing my financial projections, I'm always a little bit conservative. So we did have apportionment come in for, LAP and our TBIP funding that comes in. And so we don't always spend that like right when we get it. So some of those funds were set aside for the summer school program. We had some additional TBIP money come in, and so that's why we were able to expand the summer school program. So those expenditures catch up, and they start catching up in August, and then we'll continue through the month of September as we're trying to close the books, and we're posting back to August 31st to make sure all the costs are in the right category. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. It was a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice, I think, from all levels of this organization, including the buildings and the teachers. And so, I acknowledge that, but, we're looking positive, and I'm comfortable with that, where my projection is we're gonna hit that and maybe be just a tad bit higher than what I'm thinking.
And it did say the special ed increased from 5.4 million to 5.8 million.
Yeah, so, round of applause for the amount of work that, Director Mon, and Jamie Farnham did to, apply for the safety net. It is a tremendous amount of work that goes into that with all of the documentation that you have to provide. And so we were fortunate to receive $697,000 in total for safety net funding. We had projected 500,000, so it was above our projection, which is really good news. So, yeah, really, really happy for that. So that money's coming in to help support the special ed program. So,
Yeah, and having, that's a huge one, because we've had years where, to be honest, the incompetence in that position, gave us almost nothing. So to have that now turned around and in fact exceed what we expect is a real, she just left the room. Anyway.
That was a family, right? That was in her, so that was great. Yeah.
Which is, it's a real tribute to, her skill and, because doing that stuff, it's not a given, it's not easy, and so, we're very lucky to have her.
yes.
Yeah.
I hope you relay how we felt after her whole family.
Yeah, we will.
I know it's on the record.
We will tell her for sure
Good
tomorrow.
time, too.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Do you foresee us having to take any loans this year as it stands now?
Right now, no. Like I said, the only time that I get really worried, is just the month of June. That's our lowest, apportionment payment. It's always the ploy that the state plays, especially too if they have a shortfall, and so they'll often delay apportionment. They did that to school districts this year because they had some short funding and they weren't able to pay us until the following month. And so we were able to look through the month of June and July without having to take a loan. And so our cash balance is much higher, which thankfully, I anticipate it'll stay that way. June is always my concern, so there's always a chance that I might have to come to you for a very short term interfund borrowing just to get through that cash flow period of that month, so.
Another wild card is that, OSPI is taking a big hit in their staffing.
Yes.
And the way that shows up is things don't get done, not surprisingly, so that's another, hopefully it won't happen, but
Right, there's some delays.
it could delay some payments.
Yeah.
That's been known to happen.
And then the folks that have us under binding conditions, just what is the cadence right now? Are they checking in with us? I mean, a year and a half ago, there was, I hadn't been appointed yet, and they were meeting with us, letting us know what the terms were, where we were at. I assume they meet with you at some regularity, and I don't know if it's been a span of time where we're about to meet with them and go, hey, things are looking better, or have we already done it?
So it'll be the end of October. We'll have a clearer picture of what the books look like as we're closing the books, because our deadline to report to the state is November 8th. So at that point, we'll have a pretty firm figure. And then we're required to send our financial statements to the ESD every single month. And so if they're always following up as well, they're reviewing those, and if they have questions, they're reaching out to you as well. But
What are you sensing? Is there a tone there where they're reaching out a whole lot and concerned, or are they reaching out less and less because you're
reaching out less and less, which has been nice.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have quarterly check-in. It's quarterly. So we meet every quarter with OSPI and the Puget Sound ESD financial team. And I would say our meetings are pretty friendly, amicable. Our reports are clean. So there hasn't, like I said, it's gone from like all of these metrics and things. And once we met our metrics, then it's more of monitor status, I guess, is the conversation. So we're gonna have some more of those conversations about what's next, probably in October.
And then he asked where we're at, our goal was 2%, we're a little bit stronger than that, and the actual OSPI goal is 4%. And then, of course, we had to be stronger on ourselves, we went for 6% as a board. Do you have any idea where we might Because we're talking about the forecast, we might be able to achieve maybe 4%.
You know, I'm hopeful that even though we passed the budget, that we can get closer to 4% by the end of next year. Like I said, you know, usually throughout the year, you have some sort of attrition with, you know, staffing changes and things like that. And so you get a little bit of savings as you're trying to rehire positions. But, you know, it's still gonna take some work, and it'll definitely take some work to get us back up to 6%. So, you know, we're just going to have to watch and monitor closely. You know, there's still the talk with the federal government about making those cuts to title funds official. I guess in some ways, the good news is that at least we'll have more of a heads up because they adopt their budget in October. So we will know for sure what that status will look like for school districts. And so then that gives us time to do that planning. To figure out what changes we need to make to our system to accommodate those cuts if they do come through.
So we've battened down the hatches pretty tightly.
Mhm.
We have a little bit of pad and that could impact us adversely. You feel confident we have a path to take if that happens.
Yes, I mean, we will always have a path. It may not be a path that we necessarily like, but there will be a path. We just, you know, we need to make sure that we're not into a situation where we're going into a negative fund balance, and, you know, getting ourselves right back to square one. We can't afford to do that, so.
Okay.
Can I just share a little bit as an example? We knew that the title funds was gonna be a little tight. We were worried. Amy decided to take a more conservative approach.
Yep.
Did not put staffing in any of those buckets of dollars. I was sitting in a July meeting with 15 superintendents when we all got the news about the shifts.
Yeah.
13 superintendents were stressed out. I and one other were not, because we were the only two districts that took a conservative approach and did not have to do. So I just want to share that we're trying, I think when you're in a position of trying to, you know, lock down our internal controls, we have to be fiscally conservative all the time.
Mhm.
And I think, I just wanted to share that as an example. So I was not in the meeting scrambling to figure out what to do because we already decided what we were going to do.
Yes.
And those other schools were scrambling a little bit. So just school districts were scrambling. And I'm not saying that's good or bad or whatever. They weren't in that position to be thinking in that way. Now they are. Now they're thinking that way. So I think, I will share too, we do get calls of advisement now from others asking us, how did you do that?
Yeah.
What did you do? Because more and more districts are actually now going to be or will be in binding conditions. So we are actually lending our thoughts to other people
New
and
model.
sharing, just because we've learned a lot of lessons and we're trying to help districts understand what lessons they need to learn as well, because no one should have to go through this as hard as, we were one of the first ones in our region, and I think we might as well just share what we know.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, there's not enough thanks. I mean, I don't think the public understands. Administration was taking personal furloughs at intervals that was hard to watch happen. There were people who had their jobs cut in half, some that were eliminated. There are people who stretched across two positions in order to hold down the fort. There were some cuts that were very painful amongst the faculty. And some we were able to restore because it's so hard to predict, you know, the levels of students that we're gonna have at various times of the year. This is all about, everywhere I go, I talk about living within your means. What do you do at home? You know, if one of parents loses a job, what does that look like to you? And what do you have to, you know, eliminate for a while? And this is gonna be forever. So at some point, somebody's gonna come to their senses, the federal government, the state government, and just go, look, we are not amply funding our education system. And we have to figure out a way to get that done. But I just can't say enough for absolutely everyone. I don't think anybody went untouched in the school district. And you guys are following on the source several times and just stay the course. So I don't want to wax poetically here, but I talk to others and say there are other jurisdictions within Tukwila that could learn and listen and understand the tools you used to stay within their means, and I'm very proud of where we got to. I'm ashamed of what caused it all, and I can't wait until this, society straightens that out, but thank you for being so predictable, reliable, conservative in times where when I started, we had no idea what was gonna happen. We had an interim superintendent, a brand new CFO, and a whole lot of people thumbing their nose at all of us. Like there was some scandal, and really what it was just powerful forces that were adverse that we had to stand up under, and I just can't appreciate you enough.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well said. Any more comments, questions? Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, so that's going to close off our questions only. We're gonna move on to our action items. All right, which goes right into A, approval of the human resource staffing report.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approval of chart 25-26 calendar year.
So moved.
Seconded.
All approved?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay, approval of the leasing amendment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, approval of the board calendar.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Could have just done all these once. Approval of the assessment calendar.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the mill price increase.
So moved.
Just go second it, but discuss, I hate increases. But I will support it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of policies 111, 1310, 1815, 1825, 3130, and 6800.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so closes that part of our agenda. Moving on to our final public comment. If anybody's shown up that wants to make a comment that's here, I have the paper in front of me. I can certainly call you up if you want to. If not, if I see no one here present, then going to online. No one's online? But nobody has their hand raised. Super, all right.
Could I just, it's not public comment, but we went so fast, I do want to let the public know, we just went through a lot of action items that we have been pouring over for months to get to the point where we went through it. I just don't think we reverently flew through there and didn't read it all. We exacerbated every possible detail we could have before we did all those votes. So I'm very appreciative of being in that position so we can do so.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna close the time for public comment, and we're looking on to move to executive session, but we need to have all board members present. Thank you for the notes. It's perfect. Since we are not all present, we are not going to have an executive session this evening. Do I need to make a motion for that or anything?
So move that we, so
Thank you.
before we do, I want to have discussion, move to council executive session, so amend the agenda to council. Or
Yes,
is it postponed?
I think it's
It's
postponed.
supposed to September.
September 9th.
Okay.
Move to postpone to September 9th.
Second.
And the quick discussion is it September 9th, or should we have a special session? Is it urgent in any way?
No, it's not urgent.
Okay.
It's an executive session. The only thing that's required is all board members be present.
Mhm.
And so, and I believe all board members will be present on September 9th.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right,
Take the vote.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So executive sessions now, so
Yeah.
September 9th.
That will start before the board meeting.
Oh, that's a good thing to know.
And so it's
Is
September
that
9th,
5 o'clock then?
instead of 3 o'clock meeting?
4:30.
Oh, okay,
4:30?
good.
Okay, perfect. All right, so as we are wrapping all up and everybody's grabbing their chair to stand up and run out, I move that we're going to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I know.
So everybody grabs their chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The staff, Mrs. Eastman, everybody.